Frank, a question about Teddy Bridgewater. What is the role that the little finger plays in throwing the football? I understand that if you're a right-handed quarterback, that's the top hand taking the snap, if I'm not mistaken. But throwing the football, what is the role that the little finger plays there?
I think uh, reality, like just being able to grip the ball, all right, being able to control it. I mean, I think that ultimately just having that comfort level and be able to one take a snap and two be able to control the football as far as you're either delivering it through a pass or even being able to hand it off. So and Teddy's done a great job, rehabilitating and working through all the injuries and stuff like that, just like all our guys have this year with any injury adversities. So I think that ultimately, his ability to handle football is obviously the most paramount thing that we're looking at when it comes to whoever's taking the snap. So, got to hand it to him though, man. He's working his butt off to try and make sure that uh, he's ready to go in all capacities that we need him.
I'm going to ask you an offensive line question that would not compromise you competitively because it doesn't involve any names.
I love it.
I've given this a lot of thought.
I know.
So how many, again, no names, how many permutations have you, Matt, and Mike settled on in terms of all the possible lineups for Sunday on the offensive line? And how much does that affect game planning these last couple days for you and Mike as far as which of the permutations ultimately gets used?
I went to a public school in Ohio. Define permutation. No. So, really, it goes down to, really kind of like we said it all year. We always have to plan for contingencies in all forms for all positions. I think that preparation really starts in training camp. It really starts with in the preseason. So, like for us, the variables that play out in season, we're never trying to really work something at the last second. We're always trying to make sure that we have as much crossover. And sometimes, like, where's the crossover coming? Sometimes it's more in individual drills and stuff like that where we can get the work at it. But ultimately, you're trying to build consistency. How do you build consistency? Being able to play similar spots, all right, similar sides. Like that's how you build consistency for guys. So I think overall, when we look at the line this year, we've had a lot of really cool challenges, all right, with some of the situations that have come up. And I think the guys have handled it tremendously. Their work, their intensity towards the opportunity to maximize their play. I mean, we couldn't be, happier from that effort, right, that we're really putting in. I mean, the result is obviously something that you're always working through to obviously continue your process. But I think, the good thing is a lot of these, variables and lineup changes we've already considered. So we're just really implementing things that we've had conversations about or even drilled in some of our individual things.
And I mean, as far as how it affects game planning, for example, do you and Mike have a conversation Tuesday saying, if Tehran's available, we're going to use this particular play more than if he's not available? Does that type of thing happen?
I mean, kind of. I mean, ultimately, you try and put in plays and schemes that maximize your player skill sets. I mean, whether that's a lineman or a wide receiver or quarterback, running back, I mean, all positions. So I think, the players make it come to life. I mean, every play we do. So, like, when you can have opportunities for guys that what they do well, yes, we want to put it in. And obviously, there's an element of schematically what we need to attack to challenge the defense. So, yeah, you weigh it in, and then it ultimately, that's why we have the volume of plays we have. One, to be able to attack the different nuances that the defense presents, and two, to make sure we're getting two plays that are obviously what our players do well. Because you can game plan blocks, you can game plan combinations as you can routes. So I think those variables come into play. But I mean, we're always trying to consider, multiple contingency opportunities to make sure that our guys in the right spots.
If Skylar indeed starts again, would you like to see him manage the game similar to how he did against the Jets, minimizing risk, or in this scenario where you probably need some more points, just hey, let it rip? You got nothing to lose. Go ahead, go after it.
Well, I think when you look at it from philosophically for an offense, our job is to score points, and then however we score points is trying to obviously win the game. So for us last week, we felt there was an opportunity with the Jets, right, to attack them in a way that maybe we hadn't attacked certain opponents the same way. I think ultimately, like this week, we have a plan to how we want to attack the Bills, and ultimately, regardless of how it plays out, that's the plan that we communicate. The guys understand it. I don't think necessarily that we're looking at some type of way to really do it. We're just looking at what's the best way for us to make sure we score points and win the game. And if we maximize those opportunities, we feel confident that we can accomplish that.
From your perspective, with the various quarterback carousel that you've had all season, what's been kind of the impact of Darrell Bevel in getting Skylar ready this week, Teddy in some weeks, and obviously Tua in his development? What's kind of been your perspective?
Well, I think really you look at any of the injury adversities that we've had all year at all positions. I think you've seen a great job of coaches working with their players, trying to make sure that everyone's connected with how the game plan's going. Everyone's connected on the important parts of what we're trying to attack inside of the defense. So the quarterback room, they've done, Bev and Chandler have done a fantastic job, right, with the quarterbacks, making sure that we're working through, all the variables that could potentially happen, all the guys, because it's like, again, you just never know when your number's going to get called. So I think that also plays into all rooms with the injury issues that we've had to, deal with, like all teams do, and just making sure that every player that's going to have a jersey for the game, all right, is ready to go and make sure they understand the game plan. So I think it's been a great opportunity for us as coaches, right, to actualize these contingencies that we've been talking about, all right, since September, and it only makes us stronger for the future.
Buffalo defense almost never leaves their nickel package, and I think a lot of that's built around Taron Johnson. What are some challenges unique to a player like that can insert in the running game, but also pull back and give them more coverage weapons, as it were?
Yeah, I think that you see a defense that has obviously been together. They understand their philosophy. They understand what they're trying to do. I mean, Sean Leslie done a fantastic job, and then fortunately for my experience to know Mike, going back all the way to Carolina with Sean when he was the coordinator. I mean, they run a very good scheme, aggressive. They know who they are, right? They have a very good understanding, whether they're nickel or their base defense. I think that all their players communicate well. I think they have a great understanding of where they're trying to be inside of their defense. So I think that the flexibility that they do with inside of their defensive system is probably a strength of theirs, and that's through their players. And I think it's ultimately, you can see it's a well-coached team that plays hard, and ultimately it's going to be, we got to make sure we're on our stuff to make sure we bring in our best on Sunday.
Frank, because of three reasons. A, you're playing a very good team. B, they're familiar with you. Obviously, you're familiar with them. And C, because you all are beat up offensively without Tua. Do you and Mike in game planning think we need to do even more unusual, unexpected things that we haven't shown this year, be it trick plays, be it something we haven't used a lot, to increase our chances to win in this very difficult spot that we're in?
I wouldn't say that that's kind of how we look at it. I think our starting point has always been who is the defense, how do they operate, how do they play defense, right? Where are the stress points of their defense, how can we challenge them, all right, make them have to defend every yard of the field. So I think we start from that capacity, and then you look at, right, who are the potentials of being up, and how do we maximize what they do well, and then on what do we do well. So it's never like you start off, you don't really ever get to that variable until maybe later in the week when you have more clarity towards what's going on, because we still have really 3 more days of prep before we get to Sunday. So there's a lot of variables that could even play out before then. So I think ultimately we're starting from where we always do and trying to make sure we have options with our scheme to attack different parts of the defense, to attack the matchups that we feel advantageous, and then making sure we communicate that with the guys, and making sure that we're operating that we need to do to win the game.
If Raheem can't go Sunday, does anything change with the running game? He's basically been the guy you can count on all year.
Mm-hmm. No, I think that we feel very confident with the way the group has responded overall. I think that with what we do, trying to build consistency within our system with running our core concepts and allowing everyone to really get an understanding of what the play's intent is, right? Whether the stress points of the play, or what are the critical factors of the play. So ultimately, the running backs room overall has a good understanding of what we're trying to do. So I don't think that, we necessarily are having to tailor. I think more of it's a great opportunity for the next guys in the room to show what they can do in the situation when their number's called.
Frank, sort of psychologically, how is the staff approaching the reality that the team is a significant underdog going into this particular ball game? Is it ignored? Is it discussed? I don't know.
I mean, honestly, you don't even really know all that stuff until outside people tell you. I mean, your only goal as a coach and a player is to focus on the mission at hand, and that's you go forward with your preparation. So how the outside world views things, I mean, it's kind of irrelevant from that standpoint because, I mean, as far as your preparation goes, I mean, you're focused on the details of your assignment. You're focused on the intent of the play. I mean, the last thing I think that really focuses in everyone's mind is what some people are saying that should happen or could happen. I think that everyone's just focused on being the best they can at each individual moment, which is today. If we maximize today, make sure we stay in the moment and do what we need to do at that time, that's part of your preparation, get ready for Sunday. And if you do that all year in everything you do, that's why games aren't bigger than what they are. They're just another opportunity to go play the game, all right, in front of an audience as opposed to in practice. And then in practice, if you take that intensity with that mental stamina, you're always banking reps to get yourself ready for that environment. So I don't think necessarily anyone's really focusing on that until really someone tells you and you're just like, oh, really? Oh, okay. And I think it just comes forward that our job is to be present.
Last time in Buffalo, you had success on the ground. It was Raheem going that time. Jeff Wilson was out. Now you'll have Jeff Wilson. Maybe Raheem won't be able to go. But what other constants do you feel you have in that rushing attack that leads you to believe you could have similar success this time?
I think I think it starts with the preparation on Wednesday and just making sure everyone's connected in what we're trying to do in the attack and schematically, fundamentally. I think that all guys with all the variables we've had this year, our goal is just to create consistency and a general overall understanding of communication so we can operate. So again, I don't think that our goal is really worrying about all the variables that could be. You got to worry about your individual variables that you can't control. So there's so much uncontrollable things, especially in the playoffs, and the regular season's over. It's a one-game elimination tournament. So the only thing you can do in that is really just stay in the present and focus on what we need to do today, and then that you just stack those plays, stack those moments until it's time for Sunday to extract them when you need them.
What's the first thing that goes through your mind when you kind of project and look at what the atmosphere there and crowd noise is going to be for a playoff game in Buffalo?
I'm assuming it'll probably be very similar to the last game. I mean, just hopefully no snowballs. So I think a couple of us got pelted by those. But yeah, I mean, the fortunate thing at the end of the season with us, when we're getting flexed to prime time, have a lot of those opportunities. All they are is they're preparing you for these moments. So it'll be an electric atmosphere, and we're looking forward to the opportunity.
And you got obviously a great carry from Savon late in the game Sunday. He played well in Buffalo. What do you like about his skill set as a runner?
Yeah, I think really think he's a great fit to our system. Like his vision, his toughness, his ability to redirect, his ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. I mean, we overall, like as we talked about, I know in earlier months, trying to find guys who are complete players, but then guys who do things well and just trying to maximize that. And we've been really pleased with what he's done so far. And then, we feel real confident if his number's called that he can execute with what we need him to do.